everyone, my name is Cyrus and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do a bit of a book review on a book series, the Alex Verus book series by Benedict Jacka. I've read the first 6 books in this series so far, so I'm halfway through. There are 12 books in the series. And I just want to talk a bit about my thoughts about it. I started reading this series at the beginning of 2025 and I've kind of made my way through the series a little bit throughout the year. I was originally introduced to the Alex Verus series because last year I did a reread of The Dresden Files, which is one of my favorite book series of all time. And when I finished The Dresden Files, I kind of found myself feeling like I was missing something and I wanted more of that urban fantasy kick. I really love urban fantasy. It makes me feel like magic is actually real and alive in the real world, and I've always wanted to feel that way. I just love thinking that magic is around and that just around the corner there are fairies in the woods and all these kinds of things. And so urban fantasy has always appealed to me because of that. And so I was kind of still wanting that urban fantasy kick after I finished The Dresden Files. And I don't know exactly how, I don't remember exactly how the Alex Verus series was introduced to me or suggested to me, but it was, and so I decided to pick it up and start reading it. And obviously I'm halfway through the series, and so I clearly like it. But I just want to talk a bit about that and my thoughts about the whole series as a whole, or I guess half the series as a whole so far. So obviously first we'll talk some spoiler-free thoughts and about the whole series as a whole so far, and then we'll jump into some spoilers in a little bit. So spoiler-free, some thoughts about the series. Obviously, if I'm on about 6, I have been liking the series so far. I've been reading this far ahead. I've really liked the first 6 books of the series so far, and I have the remaining 6 on my TBR behind me. So I've liked the series, and I intend to finish the series at some point as I'm kind of working through it a little bit. For those of you who know nothing about the Alex Verus series, basically in this world, there are mages that exist, and we're following a mage named Alex Verus in modern-day London. In this world, mages have different abilities, kind of specialties that they can do. Some mages can manipulate elements, some mages can manipulate matter, some can heal you or kill you just by touching you. All sorts of different things people can do. And our main character, Alex Verus, his ability is that he is a diviner. And that means that he can see the future. And I remember that when I first heard about this being his ability, I thought, maybe is this a bit too overpowered? And I was just a little bit curious about how we would read about that ability. But I will say that Jacka does a really good job of portraying this in a really cool and, in my opinion, unique way. Just making sure that we understand kind of how Alex's abilities work, but that we understand also their limitations. In this world, humans and people still have free will, and so when Alex can see into the future as a diviner, he doesn't just see one solid timeline, and this is the timeline that will always exist, but rather what he sees is forks of timelines, sometimes hundreds or thousands of different possibilities of what could happen in the future. He has the ability to follow those timelines and to kind of see, okay, if I make this decision, what's going to happen, and follow it to a certain extent. But because humans are so variable and the decisions that we can make are so different and can vary so differently depending on what happens, it can be really hard for him to see too far into the future just because of the various different inputs and things that can affect different things, all that kind of stuff. So he can sometimes see into the future far ahead, but not often. Often what he's really good at is being able to see short distances into the future. And so this really gives him a lot of really cool abilities in a lot of ways. It makes him really good at hand-to-hand combat because he can see what you're about to do about a second or two before you're actually about to strike. And so he can deflect it and all that. He also does the martial arts, so he knows some abilities with that, but that combined with his ability to see into the future just really helps him a lot with that. It also helps him a lot with being able to pick locks as an example, and so he can kind of look into the future and see all the little different things he can do and when the lock's actually going to be picked, so he can make the right decisions in order to pick that lock. And also under the most extreme circumstances, it can help him avoiding death. And you can see, okay, actually, if this happens, I'm about to die right now, and so I'm going to make this other decision to try and skirt that and hopefully bypass that death that was going to happen. And the way that it's also described is really neat because the way it's described is that when he's looking into this future and he's kind of following his path, as he calls it, he feels or experiences everything that person experiences. So when he gets stabbed in the future, he feels what that would feel like to have been stabbed. And even though he can make a different decision in the present so that he doesn't get stabbed, he still knows what that would have felt like if that future had taken place. So just very interesting to see how this ability is done. And I've really appreciated and liked how Jacka took this ability that could be viewed or could be thought of, I certainly thought about it this way, as maybe a bit too overpowered in some cases. And he's taken that ability and has really provided a lot of natural obstacles. It doesn't feel like these obstacles have been created just for the sake of, oh, we're going to put obstacles in front of Alex, but they just feel like the natural way of things. And like if you actually did have this ability, this is just how it would work. And so I've really appreciated those natural obstacles that Alex has and how he has learned to deal with them and cope with them in a lot of different ways. In this world, there are dark mages, there are light mages, and there are also neutral mages. And Alex considers himself to be a neutral mage. And I won't go too far into the implications of this or anything like that in the spoiler-free section here, but effectively, Alex's presence as a neutral mage makes it so that a lot of people are wary of trusting him. And it makes it so that his relationships with fellow mages are always a little bit tenuous. And it's been really interesting to see kind of how those relationships have developed in different ways as the series has progressed. And so I've really appreciated that a lot as well. Of course, being a series, Alex also has a lot of reoccurring characters that come in and out of different books, and I won't talk a bit too much about them in this section here, but I do really like these characters. You grow to really find yourself attached to these characters in different ways, and you really care about the relationships for some of them. Not all, but some of them you really do care about the relationships that they have between them, which is also a really nice aspect as well. I think the books also benefit from being short paperbacks that you can really just flip through and fly through in like a week or two. I think they benefit from that speed and that agility. The battle sequences, when there's fighting happening, Jaka is really good, I find, at writing those sequences. I've really enjoyed every battle scene that has come up, every fight scene that has come up. I really, really like those. There are times, though, where certain things fall flat or certain character bits fall flat for me, and I think the fact that these are really short books, it benefits that you can just kind of go through those pretty quickly and get back to the points that you're enjoying in the book. So I think that has been a really nice aspect, that they're fast enough that you can just read through it, and if you're okay with kind of looking over some of those parts and just saying, yeah, it's okay if not every character is the most well-rounded established character, you can really find a really fun series, or at least in my experience so far, a really fun series with the Alex Verus series here. Yeah, like I said, 6 books in, and I'm very much enjoying it thus far, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the series. Alright, jumping into some spoiler thoughts now about the first 6 books of the Alex Verus series. Obviously, I do really like this series. It's a lot of fun, and there are a lot of things that are really, really great about it. Like I mentioned, this series, I think, has really good ways of portraying battle. And for me, that's one of the top highlights of the series thus far. The way that Jaka is able to describe Alex like sneaking around corners and in the end stabbing this person that was kind of tracking him down in this apartment. The way that he's able to talk about seeing into the future and seeing that, oh no, I'm about to be shot right now, and being able to jump out of the way of a bullet that's about to kill him at the very last second. All of these really cool ways that his powers are being used are just really fun, and really fun to think about that and to think, man, how cool would that be if you had that kind of ability? I also just like the way that it's described in a lot of ways. How he's just able to sneak into buildings and avoid the look of guards because he just knows where they're looking and where they won't see him. It's just really cool to be able to do it and to be able to see that happening. I would also say the final battle in most of these books, and almost all these books, end up being so epic. The battle at the end of book 1, where Alex and Luna are in like the power crystal, I think that's what it's called if I'm remembering correctly. They're in this power crystal and they're having this big fight, and they're able to kind of come out of that unscathed, or mostly unscathed. The battle at the end of, I think it's book 3, when he teleports the bad person back to Arachne's lair, or the bottom of Arachne's lair where the dragon is, and having the dragon have his way with them. Just really cool moments, and I find the final battles of these books tend to be really like high stakes and end up having a good payoff at the end of it, I find. I also really like a lot of the relationships in the book. Not every single one, but a lot of the relationships that are in these books. In particular, the 2 that really stand out to me are the relationship between Alex and Luna and the relationship between Alex and Arachne. Those 2 relationships I find to be really impactful when I'm seeing them portrayed on the page. The fact that Alex and Luna, this apprentice-master relationship that they have and how they kind of deal with that, I really have been appreciating and liking a lot. And just the friendship and trust that Alex and Arachne have. The fact that Arachne is this big, monstrous spider, and all these people are scared of her, but that her and Alex just have this really strong bond. Just a lot of really nice aspects of that relationship, of those relationships there. When Anne and Varium get introduced, I really like their dynamic and what they brought to the dynamic of the group. At the beginning, I'll be honest, I really hated Varium. I just thought, oh, this guy sucks. I just don't like him at all. But he's really grown on me in the book since his introduction. And I really like Anne a lot. Just her character has been really nice to read more and more about. I have the small feeling that at this point in the series, at book 6, there's like, I don't know, there's something there between Alex and Anne. I don't know if that will eventually blossom in the future, but I definitely think there's some attraction there between the two of them. So I'm interested to see if I'm just crazy or if that actually leads to anything in the future. But I've been really liking that as well, and just getting to see them and their relationships and how that's playing through. I like those relationships a lot. I remember being really disappointed and sad when the relationship between Alex and Sonder broke down. That was super just depressing to see, because I really liked Sonder, and I really liked Sonder and Alex's relationship, and they were kind of like the yin yang of one another in the terms of their abilities. Saunder's time sight, I think they call it, and so his ability to see what's happened in a spot, and then Alex's ability to see into the future. So really bummed that relationship broke down, and I hope that at some point that relationship gets rebuilt at some point, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I'll also say that I've been really liking the overarching plot that's kind of been leading around all 6 of these books so far. Sometimes little certain aspects of an individual book falls a bit flat and is not as enjoyable, but the overall plot progression has been really cool. I've been really liking how things from Alex's past have come back to haunt him in different ways. I've been really liking how we've been seeing the evolution of Mage Society in these books as they've been progressing. So that's been all very cool to see, and how the actions and events that have taken place in certain books have affected the whole world, or at least the mage world, as it progresses in all those ways. I'll also say the bad guys in this story are just amazing. In every book, the overarching enemies and bad guys, they're all really, really good. The main large ones like Morden, Onyx, Levistus, and Richard, all of those are threatening and evil in their own different ways and have their own different things that they bring to the story. The one and gone bad guys, like the person who was trying to kill and take the life of apprentices, the adepts that came and tried to attack Alex and tried to kill him. Everybody, all the bad guys, the villains of the stories have been really fun to read about and have been different and challenging and scary in their own different ways, and I've really appreciated how the bad guys are portrayed in these stories for sure. In the most recent book, in book 6 that I just finished, Morden now has a seat on the council, on the Wizard Council, and it's the first time that somebody from the Dark Mage side now has a seat on what used to be the Light Council. And the way that this is going to have overarching effects on the entirety of Mage Society, and how Morden and Richard seem to be working together in some way. I'm really interested to see what effects that has and how that affects different things moving forward in the series. I'm also really curious and want to know what the heck is going on with Richard. You know, he made the sacrifice and went off to this alternate dimension and was gone for years and years, and now is just back. What was he doing there? What happened there? There are a lot of questions that are meant to be answered, and I'm really interested to see what the answers to those questions end up being. Hopefully all of them end up being answered, but these villains are so complex in my opinion, and there's so much to them. I'm really very excited, curious, intrigued to see what their overarching plot is and what they're trying to gain from everything that they're doing. Honestly, my main critique of the series so far is just that sometimes some characters can fall a bit flat, and I'm reading it and kind of like, I just want to move on and get past this conversation, this interaction. It doesn't happen all the time, it's not with every character, but just sometimes I feel like characters can be a bit too one-dimensional, or just not interested in the relationship that they have or the character themselves. But like I said, because these books are so fast and so short and you can fly through them so quickly, if you just kind of ignore that stuff or move past it quickly, it just really doesn't affect the overarching feeling that I have for the series. Overall, it's still a really fun series, and I've really enjoyed it. I'm excited to see what happens next as I continue on through the series. So yeah, overall, I've really liked the Alex Verus series so far. 6 books in, halfway through. Really, really fun story. If I had to rank it as it currently stands, it probably around like a 3.5 to a 4. Pretty strong so far. I've been really enjoying it. I am interested to see how the story ends and how the next 6 books are. I think that will ultimately help me decide, obviously, how my overall ranking of the series goes, if it ends up popping into one of my top series of all time, or if it's just a really fun series that I read. It's really going to depend on how some of those questions are answered that I talked about in the spoiler-free section there. But overall, super fun series to read. Highly recommended if you like urban fantasy, if you're just wanting a bit more of an urban fantasy kick, or just to learn about or read about somebody with a really cool and unique power, that diviner ability, that seeing into the future. It's been really well portrayed in the Alex Verus series by Benedict Jacka. So definitely recommend the Alex Verus series if you've not read it so far. Have you read it though? If you have, I'd love to hear about your thoughts about it in the comments below, or just share with me your thoughts about urban fantasy altogether. I'd love to have chats about it in the comments. And until next time.